when something happens backstage, and it does, you fix the problem. Because Wicked's been running 22 years, we have a lot of A, B, C, D plans. For me, because I'm in wardrobe, I deal with clothing breaking. Just recently, like 3 weeks ago, my Bach ran off. He zipped his boot on, and the zipper pull came off in his hand, and the boot just split open. So there was nothing in that moment to be done because he had to get on stage. And so he did. I grabbed the 2 understudy shoes, hoping that one of them would fit him, and took them down when I went down, and they didn't. So I had a roll of duct tape, and I taped him into his boot.
Welcome to the latest edition of Adeptus On-Air, and today we have a special guest in Teri Pruitt. She's been a Broadway professional for over 25 years, including 18 sterling years with the famed Broadway theme show Wicked. So Teri, thanks for joining the show. We actually talked a little bit before. I actually attended Wicked a long time ago, but here's my playbill from that. I see yours is in the background. So a lot to get to, and thanks for joining the show.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. I'm very excited about our conversation today.
Yeah, likewise. I want to kind of go back to the beginning and just how did you fall in love with show business, and particularly with Broadway?
Well, Broadway actually was never a goal. So way back in the last millennia, when I was in junior high, my best friend dragged me to an audition, and then everybody got cast. And then when we moved up to high school, she did it again. And I didn't get cast, but I got asked to do props. And I just loved the experience. And because I'm the baby of 5, we all matriculated through the same school system. So I was always, pardon me, getting over a cold. I was always somebody's little sister, and none of them had done theater. So it was a happy accident. And then I got, you say you get bit by the show business bug. And I did, and I pursued it in undergrad and then graduate school. And then I am from Kansas. I know, I get the irony. And I worked my way east. And I worked in Baltimore, I worked in DC, and then, maybe 97, I was getting dinner between shows when I was working at the Shakespeare Theater, and I walked by a McDonald's that had help wanted sign up for managers, and it was something like $16 an hour and pension and benefits and all these things. And I was making 19 an hour with nothing on top of that. No pension benefit, overtime, or whatever. And I was like, if I want to do this as a career, I need to go somewhere where I'm going to actually make a better living. I was making a fine living. And so I literally sent letters to LA for TV, film, and New York. And literally people in New York answered my letters. And then I moved here in August of 98. And fortunately, by the end of September in 98, I was working on multiple shows, but full time and in a union. And so all of the extra wonderful things a union provides of pension benefits, overtime, all of that. So that's sort of the shortish version of how I ended up on Broadway. But because I'd done classical theater and straight plays, Broadway, I hadn't done a musical till I moved to New York. God, in the 90s, I had just done Shakespeare and classical theater and straight plays. So it was really about following the money and the passion of doing theater. Yep. So, yeah, and I ended up on Broadway.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. And speaking of Broadway, explain for the audience, because we have audience from all over, not necessarily fully concentrated in New York, but I think maybe some from the outside may not quite understand the difference of working on Broadway versus, as you mentioned, working in Maryland and some other places around the country. Just talk about the esteem of doing Broadway shows, even though technically when they tour around the country they kind of still say it's Broadway shows, but to actually do it kind of in the epicenter of the industry. Just what does that come with, that extra esteem?
Um, it definitely gives you a little bit more gravitas when you're at home and talking to people because they know Broadway. The national tours are Broadway tours. They are set up like the Broadway show. They look like the Broadway show, and they go to places that are anywhere in the country. Um, Mainly big level and medium level cities. And many of them have been touring for decades. Broadway allows just a lot of extra special things, like doing the Thanksgiving Day parade, the Tony Awards, performing at the White House, and things like that. You get a lot more perks. Um, and people, stars and famous people coming to see it,
Mm-hmm.
and being able to meet them, if only briefly, photo op thing. And they're just as excited to see us as we are to see them.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then there's regional theater, which is what I was doing in DC and Baltimore. And it is frequently a subscription base, whereas Broadway is a commercial based. Um, so they have a lot more flexibility in their scheduling, and they frequently do 4 to 8 shows a year.
Okay.
Um, and so, yeah, but I had a lot of perks when I was working in DC. I've met Supreme Court justices and sitting presidents and ambassadors,
Wow.
as the Shakespeare Theater, which was the theater I worked at, is, if not the top, one of the top regional theaters in the country. So
Wow.
there's a lot of just fun little, like, when you get to stand and talk to the president, come on, when you get to meet, for me, Justice O'Connor and Justice Ginsburg, like,
Yeah.
wow, that's okay. I'll take it.
that's
I'll
that's
do
awesome.
it.
Yeah, that's awesome perks of the job. And how is that set up? Is that set up, like 30 minutes before the curtain rises, or is that after the play, or how are these celebrity encounters set up for the talent?
It's afterwards.
Okay.
Um, and it's a meet and greet uh, at the Shakespeare Theater. In our green room, we would basically, it was during the Clinton administration, and frequently it was both Bill and Hillary, sometimes Chelsea, and they would just come down, and we literally would circle around them, and they would, hi, how are you? And the thing about both of them, and even Chelsea to some degree, because they came multiple times to multiple shows,
Mm-hmm.
and I know they were briefed and they have Secret Service and all of that, but they would remember you
Oh, wow.
and remember what you talked about like a year ago or 6 months ago. And like, and we're talking, 30 or 40 people, and it would be like, Teri, so how is your brother doing with what? Be like, what?
Yep. And
And
imagine the conversations they've had after that in that year, with other world leaders and all those things. So to come back and remember that.
yeah, it was, and all of the family has that quality, and that quality of when you're talking to them, you are the most important thing in the world. Like
Oh,
somebody could call and say, we have a nuclear situation, and they would be like, I'm talking to Teri right now.
Wow. Yeah.
And it just was like, oh my God. It's just awe-inspiring to meet and ambassadors and yeah, it's just, and then meeting on Broadway, less of that, but meeting idols that you have, and getting to like shake their hand and thank them for their work, is pretty lucky.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's amazing. That's amazing, and something I've always been intrigued with Broadway style plays and plays in general is the live element of it. If you make a mistake or you forget a line, you can't just the director can't just say cut, and let's shoot it again. Um, how does that? How is that managed? How is that? I'm sure. I mean, nobody's perfect. I'm sure that's happened from time to time. Um,
It,
how does that? How is that managed? I guess is the question.
it depends on the level of mistake. If it's something like a line or a lyric, you just move on.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, they can't say, "Oh, wait a minute, what I meant to say was."
Yeah.
And if it's a group scene, usually the people around you are laughing at you. Um, Not overtly that the audience would know, but it's a fun moment usually because it's not something that the audience would actually know is happening. Um, when something happens backstage, and it does, um, you fix the problem. Uh, Rarely, but sometimes we do have to actually stop the show because of a technical issue, because someone's, gotten sick. It's or gotten sick in the audience. Um,
Mm.
so sometimes, rarely, very rarely, maybe once a year, if that much.
Okay. Okay.
Um, but it happens because, it's humans and mechanics and sometimes even when the show doesn't stop, it's obvious. Like there's a bed in the classroom scene. And
Yeah.
so, and
Yeah.
two, three guys in black clothes walk out and have to physically move it. Um, it just happens. And to be perfectly honest, the audience loves those shows.
Oh.
They love it when they get to see the accident because then they're like, "Oh, I was at the show when."
When? Yep.
You
Yep.
know, and so and they see that it is live and it is real and stuff happens, you know. Most of the time the audience isn't aware when stuff happens, and that's because we are very quick problem solvers and think on our feet very fast. And because Wicked's been running 22 years, we have a lot of A, B, C, D plans. And,
Gotcha.
because we've had that thing happen and we didn't have a plan in place and we created a plan. And then it's like, okay, so that was a workshop of that problem. Now we know what to do the next time it happens. You
Gotcha.
know,
Makes
yeah.
sense. What would you say is the most common backstage problem that's happened over your 25 years as far as repetitive issue that you had to
Um,
fix?
for me, because I'm in wardrobe, I deal with clothing breaking. Just
Buttons, zippers.
buttons, zippers, Velcro, hems, costumes getting caught on set pieces and just ripping, the entire, um, just recently, like 3 weeks ago, so Bach and Nessa, who are principal characters, um, uh, are in the opening number, and it's the mob. It's when Glenda comes in, and it's a mob scene, and so my Bach ran off. He zipped his boot on, and the zipper pull came off in his hand, and the boot just split open.
Ooh.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Um, so there was nothing in that moment to be done because he had to get on stage, and so he did. I went my next thing is to go to his dressing room to help Dr. Dillamond. And so I grabbed the two understudy shoes, hoping that one of them would fit him, and took them down when I went down, and they didn't. So
Ooh.
I had a roll of duct tape and I taped him into his boot.
Wow.
And and then when I had a moment, I went down to our wardrobe room, and fortunately we had a third understudy that hadn't been put in yet, and he was able to wear his boots. So yes,
Couldn't.
I have duct taped people into their costume. I have safety pinned. Yeah, it just
Wow.
happens.
Yeah, and then the
Yeah.
audience, the audience most of the time doesn't see any of it. That's amazing.
No, they might have wondered why he had black, like a black stripe around his boot, which are blue and ivory, but they wouldn't be like, oh, I bet his zipper broke. Like, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
unless they're in the know, unless they're one of our super fans that's come multiple times.
Got you,
And
got you.
we do have those super fans that have seen the show hundreds of times.
Wow, wow.
Yeah.
And take us to like the energy on set, say 10, 15 minutes before the curtain rises. Like, what is that part like? Is it chaos? Is it calm?
It's
Uh,
calm. So everyone, yeah, it's really calm. 15 minutes before, people are, putting on their makeup, getting a costume on, playing, on their phone, texting, emailing, doing stuff. And then at 5 and places, people make their way up to the stage. The people backstage that are doing our presets. And it's, we're chatting about what we did that day, what we're, if we're going on vacation, what's going on in the world. It's pretty chill.
yeah.
Yeah.
The
Most
work
of
has
the
already
time.
been done.
Yeah. And if there's a special performance like the anniversary performance, or when we came back from COVID, there's just, it's a heightened energy. And as soon as the house lights start to go down and the audience erupts, that's when we are like even more jazzed about what's about to happen, because we know how excited the audience is about what's to happen.
Yeah.
So that definitely, when there's a good audience, whether it's a special performance or whether it's, Tuesday, when there's a great audience, it just feeds the actors, which feeds us backstage. Because, yeah.
What would you say, Terry, makes for a good audience? Like what's a good Broadway play decorum? I mean,
Sorry. Um, Responding, not just sitting there like you're watching a golf tournament. Like, if you're, I mean, but not fake about it. If you think it's funny, laugh. If
yeah,
you think like, stand up and applaud if that's what you're moved to do. I remember watching the revival of um, Les Mis with Ramin Karimloo, and when he sang "Bring Him Home," I I don't remember how I ended up on my feet at the end, but
wow,
I was like on my feet. I don't know if, I know other people in the audience did it too. That was not a fake response in me. That performance, that how he did that was so powerful, that so honest reaction. And you are a part of the show as an audience member.
yeah.
You are a very important part of the show. Um, and you are also seen, just FYI, about the first 4 rows, you're seen. So if you're taking photos, by the way, illegal,
Hmm.
recording in any way, by the way, illegal, If you're texting, if you're sleeping, if
Oh man.
you're, and we've had that, if you're, and we had this, eating a pizza in the front row, um, that's kind of disrespectful. You're
Yeah.
not in your living room.
Yep.
Uh, and we did have how they got the pizza in, we were unclear about, but there were two people front row center that had, the pizza box with slices in it.
Oh wow.
Okay. Not
Yeah.
so not only are you sitting there eating a pizza, but pizza has a fragrance that
Yep.
permeates. So then we were all hungry. We all want a pizza. So our Fiero and Glenda ordered like 20 pizzas to be delivered at intermission, just to make light of it, and all you can do is kind of laugh at
Yeah.
what's going on. But it's really the photos and the recordings that make people on stage angry.
Got it. Got it. No, that's good to know. And they announce it before every play. At least every play I've been to. No flash photography. No video recording, stuff like that. People do it anyway.
People do it anyway, and here's why. One, it's illegal. Let's
Mhm.
just but you are photographing and recording copywritten material. And
Mm.
then most of those people are putting it up on the interwebs.
Yeah.
Um, and it's just disrespectful to that performance, because that performance was one of a kind. It's
Yeah.
never going to happen again. And those people live by their reputation and their performances. So, and their images. And like I said, everything from the costume sets, all of that's copywritten.
Yeah.
So, they try to catch them, they try to make them delete, but yeah, it's something that really does bother actors, and they will come off and tell a stage manager, and then a stage manager will tell the house manager, and an usher will have to deal with it.
Got it. Got it. No, that's good. That's definitely good to know. And hopefully, that's not too much of a. Hopefully that decreases. I guess as we go along.
And that's with any play, whether you're seeing a regional production to, like, it's across the board, across the
Yeah.
board. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I asked you earlier about 10, 15 minutes before the curtain rises. What about immediately after the curtain closes? What's the general mood, and just kind of take us behind the curtain on that as well. Once the work is done, the performance is done, everyone takes their bow and huge round of applause. What's the feeling immediately after
Um,
each performance?
let's go home. Hope the trains are running. Where are we going? Sometimes it's, if there's, if somebody's leaving, there's a going away party somewhere. Um, yeah, I don't want to lessen how wonderful it is on Broadway. There are days that it's not, just because you don't want to go to work.
Mhm.
But it is the job. So, like, how do you feel after work?
Yeah.
You know, you want to
Yeah.
go get some dinner or go out with, friends or family or whatever. And that's kind of where we are.
Yeah.
Um, and we don't, it's again, it's not lessening what we do or how we feel about what we do. It's just curtain calls over, take off your costume, do the laundry, and peace out and get on the train.
Yep. Yep. No, understood for sure. It's definitely a lot of work involved, and I think it's probably more glamorized from those that don't know it.
Yeah.
Um, how does casting work for a play as popular as Wicked? I'm sure there's a line as long as the Mississippi River of people that want to be in the play on the cast. So
Yeah.
if a position opens up, how does that even work?
Okay. So the actors and stage managers are part of a union called Actors Equity Association. And that part of their contract is that they have to have EPAs, which are equity performance auditions, and they have those twice
Okay.
a month. And they actually, for Wicked, do them more than that. And they're around the country. Um, and people do line up, and they have files.
Hmm.
And then if a job opening is coming up or um, contracts are ending, so the way the contracts work, pin in the audition and casting. How the contracts work is the ensemble is on a run of play contract. So they
Okay.
can stay as long as they would like or until the producers choose to buy them out of their contract. The
Okay.
principal company is on end date contracts. So if their end is approaching, they can say, the producers can come and say, we'd like you to extend 3, 6, 9, 12 months. And then the actor can say yes, no, and do that negotiation. Back to the auditions. So let's say something's opening, someone's leaving, they can pull from their files and they will bring people in to do kind of in-house auditions with the music conductor, with the associate director, um, and then the creative staff figures it out and then they're offered a contract and then
Wow.
they're brought in for rehearsal, and depending on the track, like if it's one of the two witches or one of the principals, if they're absolutely new to Wicked, it's about 3 to 4 weeks of rehearsing and
Got it.
fitting and put-ins. For the ensemble, it's usually 2 to 3 weeks.
Got it. Got it. No, that's an interesting process. I had no idea how, how that works. And I know, with auditions, probably a long line of people. So that's interesting. The whole contractual element and how people leave and how people go.
Yeah.
In your experience, seeing so many different talent come in and out, um, how often are there variations of the same role? Because as actor or actress A may do a role, actor or actress B may have their own little spin on it, but the script is the script. So
Yeah.
how does that work in terms of people putting their talent and their spin on it a little bit, even with the same script?
Even with it. Yeah. So the best way I can describe it is as a train. So the train leaves the station, the house lights go down and the train starts going. And each character is a train car.
Mhm.
And so as long as you're in that train car, you have a lot of freedom. And you bring your own, especially with the principal company, you're bringing your own personality, um, and relationships with the other performers, but you're still saying the lines, you're
Mm-hmm.
still hitting your marks, but you're doing it with your flavor. And again, as long as you're, not jumping to another train car or getting on the top or, hanging out the window, you're pretty, you have a lot of freedom.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Now that makes sense. That makes sense. As long as they stay within that realm, but they have all the freedom within that realm that they can, muster. They just can't quite leave that realm.
Yeah.
That,
I mean, and and we have rehearsals, understudy rehearsals and rehearsals, and the associate director, Lisa Laguio, comes and sees the show and will still give notes. So
mhm.
if you're getting off in tension, or if, the dance captains and the music conductor, if you're not, like, they're going to tweak the show to make sure that train stays as consistent as possible.
Got you. Got you.
Yeah.
And Tara, you mentioned Les Mis earlier. You're in the business. You see it all the time. Do you get to see other productions, and what are some other productions that you like?
Um, yes and no. So most shows have the same schedule.
Hmm.
So for me to see a show, I have to not be at work. Um,
Yeah.
unless they have a show on our off day, or if we don't have a matinee on a Wednesday, I could see a matinee. Um, so I don't get to see as much as I would love to see. So currently on Broadway, uh, recently I saw two shows. One is no longer, it closed. It was a limited run.
Okay.
But currently there's a musical called Operation Mincemeat.
Okay.
I died. It's so good. It's so good. It's the current cast is it was brought over from London, and the current cast is the cast that actually wrote it, workshopped it, and wrote it.
Oh,
And it's
wow.
5 people that play, God, 30 or 40 characters.
Whoa.
And it is about, and it sounds strange, but it is about an operation in World War II that MI6 did. And it's a true story.
Huh.
And to get the Nazis out of Sicily.
Okay. Okay.
And it's funny is the thing.
It's a comedy?
It's a comedy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's so, but it's, go see it. If you're in New York, Jersey, Connecticut, coming to New York, see it. Don't sleep on it. It's so good. And then the other play that was a limited run was A Portrait of Dorian Gray.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Was extraordinary. From the technology to her performance, it was a one-person show, tour de force.
Yeah.
She was amazing. She absolutely deserved the Tony. The performance was extraordinary. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome recommendations. Awesome recommendations there. And Teri, what advice would you have for young people getting into the industry, just starting out, just based on your experience and everything? What advice do you have for, say, a recent college grad looking to get into the business?
So keep going. Know that it is hard.
Mm-hmm.
Know that there's limited spaces, but there is space for you and your voice. Network. And as Adam Grant would say, give and take.
Mm-hmm.
So when you see your friend that gets cast in a tour or is doing something, send them a text, email, actual snail mail. That's it's congratulations. That's amazing. Be a cheerleader for other people. And just keep plugging and realizing that really dig and figure out what it is that is drawing you to it. Because sometimes there is adjacent careers that still feed that passion.
Yeah.
And I think we get so locked into, I'm a designer. I want to be in the spotlight. And you forget that there are so many other ways to but fill that desire. But be clear on what that desire is.
Yeah, that's great advice. That's great advice, and not just for your industry, for every industry.
For every industry. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good advice. And last question I have for you, Teri. What are some of your goals at this point going forward? I mean, I don't know, next year or 2 or 3. What do you kind of see on the horizon for yourself with all that you've accomplished already?
So I heard a quote. Sorry, I was going to answer it one way, but I'm going to come at it from a different way. I heard a quote that I cannot attribute because someone else was quoting someone and didn't attribute it. But the first part of your life is learning. The next part of your life is earning. And the next part of your life is returning. And I am transitioning, I hope, into returning and trying to bring in. So how I want to return is sharing and bringing together the business world and the theater world, because we don't really know how to talk to each other. The theater world, I'm an artist, and and we don't think about all the soft skills that we are masters at. Deadline oriented. We think quickly. We are problem solvers. We work well in a group. We have negotiation. Like all of those soft skills we possess in spades. And the business world wants those, but they look at one point way back, I had on my resume multiple jobs, like 12 to 15 jobs a year.
Oh.
Now, an HR department, if I walked into corporate America, would go, oh, she can't hold down a job. We can't hire her.
Yeah.
And so what I need to do, if that's the transition I had wanted to make, is go, no, here's the thing. This one was a 2-week contract. This one is a 9-month contract, and I'm doing these side jobs.
Yeah.
I am continually working in my industry, and these are the skills I'm bringing to you. And, and so,
Exactly.
so I want to return that and try to bring those worlds together, because I think if we knew more about each other and about what we do, I think there could be a lot more give and take and transitions that would be powerful. From the business world, we would get their voices in our world. And for us to go to the business world, the corporate world, you would get our skill set and our voices. And
Yes.
that's what I want to do. So that's what I'm trying to do.
I love it. I love it. No, that's a great idea, because a lot of those skills that you mentioned are skills that are very sought after in the corporate world. If you're very timely and can think on your feet and problem solve, I mean, these are all things that work great in the corporate space. So I love it. That's awesome. That's awesome. And thank you for all your knowledge and insight, Teri, and sharing all your experience that you've had on on Broadway and Wicked and in that space in general. And thanks for joining Adeptus On-Air.
Thank you for having me. It's been great.
Thanks for listening to Adeptus On-Air. If you like this episode, please subscribe and leave a review. The views and opinions by the podcast speakers and guests are solely their own and do not reflect the opinions of Adeptus. This podcast provides general information only and is not intended to constitute advice.